Hi guys, my name is Irish and I am a new mom, and I decided to go ahead and document my motherhood journey here on YouTube so that I can look back on it when my baby is older and just reminisce about the sweet memories. Also, so that I can share all the helpful tools and tips that I've learned throughout this motherhood journey with all of you guys. So as you guys can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my positive hypnobirthing story. Also, if you guys see me look down a lot, it's actually because I wrote a bunch of notes down from my birth. So I just want to make sure that I didn't leave out any key details or important information for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. But before I do that, I just wanted to go ahead and mention that I do lifestyle and motherhood videos. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, go ahead and subscribe down below. So let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, throughout my pregnancy, it was a pretty easy pregnancy. I didn't really have anything going on health-wise that was bad or that put me at risk. The only thing was I did have low iron, but honestly I already knew I was going to have low iron going into this even before I was pregnant because I'm already anemic. So that is obvious. So other than that, I did eat fairly healthy throughout my pregnancy. Now that's not to say that I didn't eat bad food, because I definitely did. I remember I had a whole week where I just craved burgers. So that's not to say that I didn't eat unhealthy foods throughout my pregnancy, but whenever I could try to eat healthy, I definitely did. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Also, I did stay pretty active all throughout my pregnancy. It was during COVID times, so the gyms were closed. So unfortunately I didn't get to go to the gym, but I did, walk my dog every day. I did yoga, I meditated, and all that fun stuff. I even went for jogs and stuff like that in the beginning. So I think that a lot of my, the healthiness of my pregnancy really helped translate into a healthy labor and delivery. So if you're pregnant right now and you can go ahead and do something to stay active and healthy, I would definitely recommend doing that. I didn't really have any other pains or anything like that, besides the common stuff, which is back pain during my 3rd trimester, and that's pretty much it. I didn't even really have a lot of morning sickness or really bad morning sickness. It was, I think, mostly in my 2nd trimester. My baby is crying right now. She's with her dad. So if you hear her, that's that's her. So yeah, I didn't really have a horrible pregnancy, which I am so fortunate about because I've heard some horror stories. So one of the things I wanted to do or attempt to do was to try a natural labor, because she was my first baby. She is 9 weeks or 8 weeks now, so she's my first baby, and I really wanted to try a natural labor. I honestly just wanted to see what my body was capable of. Women are made to birth, and I truly believe that. So I wanted to see if I could do it. I know generations of women before me have done it. So I wanted to try a natural labor. So I actually researched a bunch of ways I could do it, help with pain management and all that fun stuff. And the number one thing that I kept seeing was hypnobirthing. So I decided to kind of practice it myself. I didn't go to any, special place to do it, and I didn't pay anybody to do it or any classes to do it. I kind of just did it on my own, and honestly I do think that it helped a lot. So basically what hypnobirthing is, if you guys don't know, is it is a method of self-hypnosis to create relaxation. So the whole thing is, especially if you're a new mom, you are fearful of birth, right? Because you don't know what to expect, and basically that fear creates tension in your body that makes it more harder for you to give birth, or more painful for you to give birth. So that's kind of what hypnobirthing is trying to stop you from doing is it's trying to stop you from having all this fear. So when you research hypnobirthing, you'll see fear, tension, and pain cycle charts often, and that's basically what that is fear creates tension and tension creates pain. So with hypnobirthing, you want to kind of hypnotize yourself. And I say hypnotize lightly because it's not really as sketchy as it seems, but you want to try to basically practice self-relaxation. So that's all it is. So your body's not tensed and you are not in pain. And kind of the science behind that is our adrenaline is our like fear hormone, right? And that actually blocks our feel-good hormone, our oxytocin, in the pituitary gland. So if we are super fearful, you know, that adrenaline comes in, that adrenaline hormone, and it will stop us from kind of getting the natural pain relievers that our bodies naturally make when we are in a, you know, tough situation, which is that feel-good hormone. So that's basically what that means. So some of the tools that they used in hypnobirthing is affirmations, visualization, meditation, and of course research. I decided to do it because, like I said, I wanted a natural birth, and I figured what am I gonna lose by trying to do this? You know, the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work out for me, but I still learned a bunch of things, right? So that's basically what I did. So now I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys my birth story. So it was really weird. I think I had a pretty odd birth story. It's definitely not something that I hear all the time that happens in women giving birth. So basically, a week before I was about to give birth, or I was due to give birth, I was not feeling anything at all. No contractions whatsoever. I still felt like I was gonna be pregnant for a very long time. Though I will say that I could definitely feel my baby's head like way like lower than it usually is. So my baby has dropped, but I didn't feel any contractions or anything like that. And honestly, I was getting impatient around this time frame. I felt like she was never gonna come, and I wanted her to already come. Like, I was just so ready for her to come and meet her. So I went to my doctor's appointment that week, and on the charts, it still showed that I was not, you know, having any contractions or anything like that. So my midwife tried to do a cervix check, and tried to do a membrane sweep so that we can get the ball rolling, because I think I was only 3 days before my due date at this point. But honestly, the cervix check was painful. Like, I could not do it. Like, I was like bearing down, I was holding my breath, which obviously you're not supposed to do because it's just gonna be harder for you, but it was very, very painful. It was uncomfortable. So when she did that, she actually said, you know, like, I am not dilated at all. I am like pretty thinned out, but I'm not dilated. She said that I still kind of have a long way to go, so she recommended that I do evening primrose oil and insert 2 or 3 capsules vaginally until baby comes, because that will help, you know, bring on labor. And also she recommended that I pump. So I went home and I did that. I remember coming home and I was just in tears because I really, really wanted this baby to come, and I was really sad to hear that I wasn't even dilated yet, and it was already 3 years before my due date. So I thought that she's just like never gonna come. So I did all the things that the doctor or the midwife recommended I do. I did the EPO pills, I did nipple stimulation through a breast pump, I went on walks, I sat on my yoga ball, all these things. And actually I was already doing the yoga ball and the walking and a little bit of the nipple stimulation before she even told me that. So that was another reason why I was kind of like went home crying, was just because I did so much and it kind of sucked that it felt like it was all for nothing because I wasn't even dilated at all. So anyways, that's what I did. And 2 days before giving birth, I started getting contractions late at night, but honestly, I don't think that the contractions happened on their own. I actually did the midwife's brew. If you guys don't know what that is, it's basically like this concoction that you put together. It's supposed to bring about labor, and it has like 85% success rate. So I was getting impatient. It was like a day, I think, or 2 days before my due date. So that is why I decided to take it. So a couple hours after that, you know, late in the night, I started having contractions. And honestly, I didn't even know what contractions felt like because, you know, this was my first time. So at first I didn't even know that they were contractions. It was just a bunch of like almost like a cramp pain down here. So and it wasn't so bad. Like, honestly, I didn't even feel it until it got like close together. That's when I knew it was a contraction. The whole other time it just kind of felt like uncomfortable, I guess. It wasn't like super painful or anything like that. So late in the night, it got pretty close together. It was, I think, like 5 or 4 minutes apart, and it was going on for about an hour. So I was starting to get worried. I started thinking, maybe this is the baby. But at the same time, I never experienced Braxton Hicks, so a part of me kind of felt like maybe it was just Braxton Hicks. But it was going on for a while. It was going on for like an hour, and then eventually it started off as 5 minutes apart, and then eventually it went down to 3 minutes apart. So just to be sure, because she was my first baby and I didn't know what to expect, I decided to go to the hospital. So my husband and I went to the hospital. They checked me, and actually they said I was only 0.5 centimeter dilated, if that's even a thing. So no, actually, was it half? No, she said I was 1 centimeter dilated, so not half. I was 1 centimeter dilated when they checked me. And I was really in shock because everybody tells you, you know, go to the hospital if it's been an hour long and it's less than 5 minutes apart. The baby's coming. But not for me. For me, it was really weird because my contractions were 3 minutes apart, but when I got there, I was only 1 centimeter dilated. So my doctor said, you know, I can go home, especially because there was no hospital rooms available and in the delivery section of my hospital. They said if I did give birth to that day, I would have had to done it in the triage area, and that's something I did not want to do because the triage area didn't even have like doors. It was literally just 3 beds separated with curtains, and we all shared like 1 bathroom. So I definitely did not want to do that. So that was the first time I went to the hospital. After that, I came home, took Tylenol, and went to bed, and thankfully I got some rest. I think the Tylenol really helped. So that following day, I actually went to my doctor's appointment. It was just a regular checkup, and there was a bit more of contractions, but there was really still nothing. So he just said, you know, go back home, just kind of wait it out, and we'll see what happens. And then that night, so a couple hours after my doctor's appointment, I started getting intense surges or intense contractions. They weren't so bad that I like couldn't talk through them, but they were like, they would come out of nowhere. So I would like kind of be like, oh, like that, you know what I mean? Like it kind of scared me, or shocked me, I guess. So that kind of started happening, and then it kind of went away, and then kind of happened again. And then it kind of died down. So I didn't think I was gonna, you know, need to go to the hospital at all. So my husband went to bed, and so did I, or at least I tried to. I couldn't really sleep. So I was kind of just on my phone. I had this constant mild cramp, so it was not bad at all. And it was like that for about 2 hours, that mild cramping. So I was just kind of on my phone. It was uncomfortable enough to where I couldn't sleep, but not uncomfortable to the point where I needed to like breathe through them. So it was like that for 2 hours. And then all of a sudden, I was laying in bed just on my phone, water comes out. It wasn't like a gush of water like what they make it seem to be in movies. It was kind of weird, and I honestly didn't even know that it was my water that had broken. I thought that it was just like maybe I peed a little. I don't know. A lot of weird things happened down there. Okay. So it was like it was not a gush. It was a little trickle. Like I moved and then it trickled a bit. So I thought that maybe it was just kind of like a little pee or something like that. But then it kept happening, and it was weird because I didn't have an urge to pee. So that's kind of one indication that I knew that my water broke, was because there was no urge to pee, but water just came out. So I went to the bathroom, like waddled my way there, and I sat on the toilet, and then more water kept coming out little by little. It was a gush here and then a trickle there. So I didn't really think it was pee anymore. I kind of knew that it was my water. But like I said, I've never gone through it, and I didn't know what to expect. So I called the doctors, or I woke my husband up first, kind of told him about it, and he said, let's try to call just to see what it could be. And then so that's what we did. The lady said, she's never going to turn anybody down, just in case that it is it. So she would recommend that we come to the hospital just to get it checked out. So, and when I got to the hospital, they did confirm that my water broke. And there was actually meconium in the water. So that's like baby's first poop, for those who don't know. So it can be dangerous because there's a possibility the baby, like ate the poop, which can get stuck in its like liver and lungs and all that stuff. So it was a little bit dangerous. So they wanted to kind of start me on Pitocin so that we can get the ball rolling, because when they checked me, I was only still 1 centimeter, but my water had broken, and that is usually not common. Usually your water breaks closer you are to actually giving birth, or the further you are into labor. So usually it breaks around 7 to 8 centimeters, sometimes 6, but mine broke so early in the game, which kind of put the baby at risk, especially because there's meconium in the water. So they wanted to kind of get the ball rolling and try to have my baby early. But I actually asked if I can just attempt a natural labor, because that was my plan all along. And I wanted to at least be given the opportunity to try. So the doctor said, okay, we'll give you, 3 hours just to see if there's any change, to see if you had dilated a little bit at least. And if you are, then that's great. We can keep trying natural before we give you the Pitocin, which is what he wanted to do from the get-go. So that's basically what I did. I was waiting in triage for about 3 to 4 hours, and the whole time I was there, I didn't have any Pitocin or anything like that, but I was sitting on my yoga ball, and it was really weird because I thought that the water, once it had broken, it would have just all been gone, right? But actually the whole time it kept coming out. Like there was a lot of water. So it was really uncomfortable, but I knew that I needed to like get the ball rolling. And from the research that I had done, laying down is like the worst thing you can do, or staying still is the worst thing you can do in labor. You want to like keep walking and keep moving around to get the baby to come out faster. So I was sitting on my yoga ball doing that whole thing for about 3 to 4 hours, and when they checked me again, I was still in the same position. I mean, same dilation. Like I had not changed at all. So basically I said, okay, you guys can start me on Pitocin, but I still want to try naturally. And normally it's really hard to do a natural labor with Pitocin, just because Pitocin is a synthetic hormone that basically tries to bring on your contractions. It tries to mimic, I think it was oxytocin, which is supposed to make your contractions occur more often. And contractions obviously bring upon dilation, and therefore it brings upon labor. So they gave me that 4 hours into being at the hospital, and I was only 1 centimeter still, or 1.5 at this point. but I still wanted to try to do it naturally. Honestly, pain-wise, I was still good. I felt like I could totally do this at that point, because even though my water had broken and I didn't have that cushion of the water sac supporting my baby's head, and it was kind of like on my on my pelvis or on my uterus, whatever. Even though I had that going on, and even with the Pitocin, it didn't really hurt at all. I didn't really feel it. It felt, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel it. It felt like a period cramp, but a very mild one. And I've had horrible periods. I've always had horrible periods. So that pain I was feeling at that moment, I felt like if that was gonna be it, then I could totally do this. So that's kind of where I was at during those first 5 hours that I was in the hospital. Also, they didn't want to check me often or do the cervix exam often because, like I said, my water had broken. So every time they put their finger in there, there could be a risk of infection, which was honestly fine for me because I did not like getting that checked. Like, it was very uncomfortable and I didn't like it. But maybe it was because I was still pretty closed up. So that was basically that, and then they moved me out of triage and got me into a room. And once we were in the room, we were laboring for longer. So we were there laboring for, I think, another 5 hours before they did another cervix check. And in those 5 hours, you know, I was going back and forth with sitting, standing, walking around, going on my yoga ball, and all that type of stuff. After the 5 hours has passed, I kind of felt like I needed to use a bathroom. And so I had my husband help me because I was connected to an IV. Because also, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but I was GBS positive. So they needed to give me antibiotics through the IV. So that's why I was like hooked up to the IV. Which honestly, I didn't want to be hooked up. My plan was to go natural and as few interruptions as possible. But because I was GBS positive and because my water broke, I needed to be hooked up to an IV and to the fetal monitoring system just to make sure that the baby is okay. So that kind of hindered a little bit of my game plan, or kind of stopped me from, you know, doing my game plan a bit, but it was fine. So anyways, I felt like I needed to go to the bathroom, and I had my husband help me, and I felt like I needed to poop. So I've read everywhere that like you're not supposed to poop, or like when you feel like you need to push or poop, that's usually the baby coming. But I knew that it couldn't have been the baby coming because I was only like at 1.5 centimeters dilated at that point. So I knew it was just poop. But my husband was like, you know, let's call a doctor first just so that they can check you. Because what if it's the baby? So I was in the bathroom, I was trying to poop, but then he was like, no, let's try and see what the doctor says. And then so we called the doctors, we pressed out that button that's in the bathroom, and instantly like 10 doctors and nurses came rushing into our room, and they were like, what's happening? And I was like, I just need to poop. And they were like, no, don't poop. And I was like, why? I really have to poop so bad. And they were like, no, it could be the baby. You don't want the baby to come out in the toilet. And I was like, okay, fine. And then so like they helped me get on the bed and they checked me, and it was just poop. So after that, you know, it was funny because like when they were checking me and there's like 10 doctors in there, like they were getting everything ready and they were like in a rush and everything. And I remember thinking like, I know this is just poop. So anyways, yeah, they checked me and it was just poop. So I went and pooped after they left, and that was basically that. And then I labored for another, I want to say another 8 hours, you guys, another 8 hours naturally. And mind you, during these hours they kept upping my dose of Pitocin. So they started at a 2 and then they went all the way up to a 14, I want to say. And so at this point, 19 hours of labor has passed, and I have done it naturally with my water broken and with a Pitocin going up every like 2 or 3 hours. It was a lot, and I was actually starting to have very strong contractions at this point. So they weren't so bad, honestly, that it was like screaming or something like that. But when it was happening, I definitely needed to hold onto my husband. Like, I needed to hold him, and it felt worse when I was laying down and getting a contraction. So for me, the whole time when it was starting to like get, you know, more intense, I was standing up and I was just holding my husband, and that I felt like has helped me the best when I was going through them, because like I said, it was horrible going through a contraction laying down. Like, I don't know what people, you know, tell you to lay down. Like, couldn't have done it. So anyways, within those 19 hours, that's when it was starting to get intense. I was holding my husband, and I was really trying to breathe through them. All throughout these 19 hours, by the way, when my contractions were happening and they were like picking up, I was doing hypnobirthing. So I downloaded like a affirmations track that I just played all throughout the labor, basically, where it was just kind of affirming me, and I would just say those affirmations in my head, you know, like every contraction brings me closer to my baby, those type of things. And then also I was listening to meditation guide. So I was going back and forth between affirmations and meditation as a tool for with my hypnobirthing course. And it worked, honestly, it did. I feel like I didn't really feel my contractions like I mentioned, and I think it's because I was so distracted with the meditation. The meditation was honestly really relaxing. It didn't take the pain all the way, like completely away, but I feel like I would have felt it way more if I was just like there without any meditation guides or without any affirmation guides. So I do honestly think that it helped. So 19 hours in, that's when it kind of like was getting tough to like meditate. It was tough to stay in the zone because it was just so intense, and I just needed my husband. I just needed to hold him and just like that type of thing. And then I kind of did that for another hour, and that was when I asked like my husband, I was like, what do you think if I get an epidural? Because it was just so intense. And also the nurses were saying that it could get even more intense, or that it is more intense for me, because like I mentioned, I was on Pitocin and my water had broken, so I didn't really have that extra cushion of you know, of water to help me through my contractions. And then the lady, one of the nurses said, oh, you know, you're a first time mom, it can happen, you know, you can be in labor for 3 days. And that was when I was like, okay, what do you think of me getting an epidural? And honestly, I wish she hadn't said that to me, because I feel like I could have gone on if like that wasn't in my head. Because once I heard that, I kind of started getting in my head thinking, oh, this baby's never gonna come, or how can I do this for 3 more days, you know what I mean? And I was honestly just so tired at that point. So for her to like say that, oh, it could happen, you could be doing this for 3 days, I was like, I absolutely cannot be doing this for 3 days, you know? So that's when I started thinking about doing the epidural. And basically after I think an hour more of that, that's when I was like, you know what, give me the epidural. Because it wasn't, not only was my contractions starting to get really, really intense, also I had back pain. Like I had back contractions as well, if that's a thing, back and front contractions. But like I mentioned, I don't think it was like as horrible as what people make it seem, if that makes sense. Like it was bad, but it wasn't like deathly painful, if that makes sense. Like it would only be bad for about a minute when it's rising, and then it would go down. I wish that lady hadn't said that to me, because I feel like I totally could have done it, or at least pushed a little longer if I didn't have that in my mind. But I started getting into like this negative mind space, which is definitely something that you need to avoid when you're in labor. And from there, it kind of just went all downhill. I basically got the epidural, and I felt immediate relief. I was finally able to sleep after like not sleeping for more than 24 hours at this point. It was great. I was so scared of getting the epidural because I read that you have to put a catheter in, and also like the risk of it and what it can do to your baby and what it can do to you. And that is actually another reason why I wanted to go all natural, was because I read the risk, and honestly for me the risks were just far too great, I guess, that I didn't want to risk it. But at that point I needed relief. And honestly I'm glad that I did it now looking back at it, because I don't think like with how painful or how exhausted I was from just the labor part, I don't think I would have been able to deliver naturally anyways without getting any like sleep. And I couldn't get sleep because of my contractions. So I think that the epidural ended up helping me relax and open up more, because I actually, like when I got the epidural, I was 19 hours in and I was only at a 3 centimeter, I think, dilated. So I feel like because my body was like so tired, I was not able to like dilate and do its thing, even though I wasn't really like in fear of it, you know what I mean? So yeah, so once I got the epidural, I immediately went to sleep for a couple hours, and I woke up because I had back pain. And when the guy was administering the epidural, he did say that, you know, it can help get rid of your contractions, but unfortunately you're always just going to feel that pressure. Just that's something that is not covered by the epidural, unfortunately. So I thought when I had woken up and had that back pain, I thought that that was just pressure, so I didn't really click the epidural button ever until like the last 30 minutes of me in labor. So I was just kind of having to deal with the back pain, and honestly the back pain was the worst part of it. I think it was worse than the contractions I felt before getting the epidural. So I'm thankful that I did have the epidural, because can you imagine me going through those contractions and that back pain? Like, no. So yeah, so I was going through the back pain, and honestly that was the worst. And then towards the end, I think it was like, I don't even know, I think it was like 8 hours of doing that basically. And they checked me every now and then, and it would only be, you know, 3, 4, 5 centimeters. And until the very last one, the next day, the doctor came in, and it was around 9 in the morning, and he checked me, and I was sleeping, so he woke me up and checked me. And when he checked me, he said, "Oh, the baby's head is right there." And it was really shocking because I was like progressing so slowly, so I wasn't expecting him to say that. You know, I was expecting for it to maybe be at an 8, but it really helped. Like, I think that just getting that rest really helped me dilate. I don't think I was able to dilate because I was so tired, and my body couldn't function properly. So yeah, so that's basically what happened. And then after that, he said, okay, we're gonna try to set you up just to get the baby down further, and then we'll kind of try again in a couple hours to see if you're ready to push, because he said we could push right now, but if we do, honestly, it's going to be a lot of work for you, and also you could tear, so let's kind of let the baby come down further on its own. That way it kind of stretches you out a bit, and also that way you don't have to work as hard as far as pushing goes. So that's what we did. We just sat up, they sat me up, and I was kind of just chilling. And then around 11 o'clock, all the doctors came, they were setting everything up, and they said, okay, like, we're gonna do practice pushes until your actual doctor gets here. And if you're doing, you know, good with your practice pushes, we can go ahead and call the doctor and you can have your baby. So they healthed me up, they propped my legs up and everything, and they taught me how to push because, like I said, first time mom, I don't know how to push. So they did that and it was great. Like, it was great. I think I did really well. That's what they said, at least. I didn't feel anything, and I think it's mainly because of the epidural. It just felt like pressure, and basically I think 4 or 5 pushes, the baby was like ready to come out, so that they called the doctor, and I pushed for a little bit more. So in total, I think it took me 20 minutes of pushing, and after that I had my baby at 11:40, and no, at 12:40. After that, I had my baby at 12:40. So it was pretty easy as far as pushing goes. Honestly, I didn't even feel that part. The worst part was the back pain from the contractions, I guess, that I was feeling after I'd gotten the epidural. So that's pretty much it. So all in all, I do think that it is a mental game. Because if that lady hadn't gotten in my head and told me that I could be there for 3 hours, I probably would have still tried to do it naturally. And also if I started, like, if I didn't get discouraged that I was progressing so slowly, I think I totally could have done it. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I gave birth to a really healthy baby and I was healthy, and that's all that mattered. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I don't think I left any key details. Actually, one key detail was when they administered the epidural, a couple hours after that, I started feeling only half of my body, which was like a big no-no. So they called the anesthesiologist back, and what happened was when they were shifting me every hour from left to right, the catheter that was on my spine kind of moved a little bit to my right. So that meant my whole left side, I was feeling everything, and I wasn't feeling anything on my right side of my body. So they had to take out the catheter again and readjust it, which was super painful. But other than that, we were good with the epidural. So I think that was pretty much it. And I just remember like getting in my head about how slow I was progressing. I didn't feel like I was gonna have this baby anytime soon, especially because that nurse told me that thing. And because of that, I remember at one point when I was going through the back pains, I was like telling one of the doctors, like the resident doctors, I think, who came and checked in on me. I was like, can I just get a C-section? Like, it's fine. I'm completely okay with a C-section, you know, as long as like we can have this baby done now. Like, I was just so impatient, and I was like, at least I won't feel anything. I'll be in anesthesia. I won't feel this back pain. And she was just kind of laughing, and she was like, you know, we'll see. She said if you don't progress anymore in a couple hours, then we might have to do it. And I was like, okay, I'm okay with doing it now. And she's like, we'll wait for a couple hours. And thank God we did, because I got it done. So that was pretty much it. All in all, I do think that hypnobirthing worked for me. I was able to not feel my contractions as intensely, basically all throughout labor. The only time I started to really feel it was 2 or 3 hours before I got my epidural, which was already 19-20 hours into labor. And again, that was with Pitocin, and that was with my water being broken. So all in all, I do think that hypnobirthing worked. Meditation really helped me not feel my contractions as intensely, and it kept me kind of like in the zone. I do think that it worked. Do I regret taking the epidural? No, because it wasn't as painful, and it wasn't as painful as what I thought it was gonna be. The worst part was getting the numbing shot, and that was basically it. That was like a bee sting, or if you've ever been stung by a bee, that's kind of what it feels like. And that was the worst part of it. And yeah, I don't regret getting the epidural. At the end of the day, I'm really happy with how my birth story came about, because it brought me my beautiful baby girl who is healthy and is crying right now because she probably just got woken up from her nap. So I don't regret it. I don't think that I would have been able to progress as quickly as I did without the epidural, because I was so exhausted and I was so tired from labor, and because I didn't sleep the day before. So that would be my tip for you, is get all the rest you can days before your due date, just in case you give birth. So yeah, I still think I do have a positive birth story, because everything happened according to how it needed to happen. So that is basically it. If you guys stuck through this that long, honestly, you're a real one, because I was talking so fast trying to make this video short, but honestly I wanted to make sure that I included everything. So if you're still here, props to you. So that is pretty much it. Thank you for sticking through this video, and thank you for watching. If you guys are pregnant, let me know if you guys are planning on having a natural birth or if you are trying to do it with an epidural. I'm curious to know, because I think now more and more people are trying to do it naturally. So I'm just curious. So let me know. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Bye!